Once we were 12 months old, Mark told me, go make some friends, join some fleets, time to learn Eve. Once we were 12 months old. It was a big, big game, but we thought we were bigger, pushing each other to the limit. We got kicked out of Dickling. By two, we were too big to fail. In goals weren't proper, never reached, so we were out to make that steady figure. Once we were 2 years old, my corpmates told me, go join a Sig so you won't be lonely. Once we were 2 years old. Always had that dream. We moved to delve around now, so we started flying battleships. Got a pilot on a CSM. Something about this cute glory just always seemed to bore me, cause only those in common fleet will ever truly know this. Once we were 3 years old, the story got told. Before the wars we tried to de-home me. Once we were 3 years old. We only see our goals, we accept our failures, cause I know the newest pilot, they can make it major. I got my corp with me, I leave doors in favor. And if we don't flee before you leave, I hope you have a drink with you later. Once we were 4 years old, our story got told. I was traveling to tribute to seek revenge to Cass and see. Once we were 4 years old. Soon we'll be 7 years old. Our songs again sung. We got the game against us. We're still partying. Soon we'll be 7 years old. I'm still learning about it. Mentors still here to train me. Some newbies can still get free ships and die in blazing glory. Most of my friends are with me. Some are still out seeking glory, and some had to quit if my brother used to welcome back. Soon we'll be 10 years old. Our family still is one. Remember, this is a game and the game becomes a lot of fun. I made an alliance happy when I wrote a song for them. I hope you'll come to SNS at least once or twice a month. Soon we'll be 10 years old, but I think the game is cold. Will I have my family still here with me? Soon we'll be 10 years old. Soon we'll be 10 years old. Will I think the game is cold? Will I have my family still here with me? Soon we'll be 10 years old. Once we were 12 months old, Merc told me, go make some friends, join some fleets, time to learn Eve. Once we were 12 months old. Once we were 12 months old.
When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Easter weekend edition of The Meta Show. I am Brisper Ball. I am joined by the Space Emperor of the Ages, the Matani. We are back yet again to talk about all the fun things happening in EVE, all the fun things happening in this war that is, I think, now officially the most boring war in the history of EVE Online. It's just boring. I don't know what else to say.
It's so boring. Our chat window is broken. Yeah.
Oh, is it broken? Oh, the chat's gone. Great.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I am fighting off a case of the feels after watching that video. Like, that was the first time I saw that, and wow. Like, I felt things. I got feelings from that. That was something. I didn't know what that was. We were premiering that. I had not seen that before. Wow, that's seriously video. It's amazing too, because when Brisk told me that we had one that we were going to be premiering here, I thought he was talking about the one that like dropped like 2 days ago, because the productivity and the singing is just so amazing. But yeah, if I look a little misty eyed at that, wow, that was, oh God, makes me miss Vegas. Makes me miss hanging out with the guys.
It does. But I got to say, Seriously has been knocking it out of the park every single week. He's had new songs. He had 2 new songs. This is the second new song that's put out. Now, he's still working. There's a couple people that he's going to throw into the final video, so that's why it's not up on YouTube. So if you want to watch it again, you're going to have to wait till the show's over and catch the VOD until he gets that stuff in. But I mean, honestly, I don't know what else to say. It's just that it doesn't get any better than that.
That was fantastic.
That was a
He
great
keeps
video.
getting better too. What's amazing about it is that these keep getting better. Each one of these is also just like the range of them. Anyway, so we do have I again, sorry guys, there were feelings involved in that completely. Whenever I experience an emotion that is I love it, I hate it, stop wasting my time, I sort of have to process that. But we do have a show prepared for you today, and we are going to be getting into that. Do we have, one of the things I think we've been missing out on is that I feel like our war update quality has been going down recently, Brisk. Like, I think that you and I, we try our best, but I feel like we've been missing that professional touch. Do you know, are we going to get like some real honest, hard news later on in today? Are we going to actually see some real war reporting?
We actually have a fairly lengthy, in-depth war update from Fountain Frank. He has asked me to book him more time than usual today.
Thank God.
Because apparently he's discovered some crazy information, or Queerius George did, that's going to put a whole new spin on things that are happening in Delve, and I think you guys will appreciate it when it gets here. That'll be later in the show. But I mean, I got to tell you, when I saw this and he walked me through it, I was like, wow, that's legit. That's pretty crazy. So from one lawyer to another, I have to say, I think Mittens and I are going to quite enjoy his war update today. So I don't know what's going on with the chat window. I've asked our crack team behind the scenes to work on it. I think we had some issues with Streamlabs last week, and that might have borked the chat. So hopefully, unfortunately, on the VOD, you guys are not going to get to see your comments back, but we will do our best to keep an eye on the chat while we're doing this. So we're going to get to the top story, which is obviously War Week 39, I guess it is now. And is this war ever going to do anything? It's just kind of sitting there. So here we go. Top story. Here we are, 39 weeks of war. And what has the biggest war in the history of New Eden devolved itself into? Structure bashes. That's it. All we have seen this entire week, and the week prior, and the week prior to that, have been structure bashes and small-scale skirmishes across the T5Z 1DQ border. That's it. We've seen no significant pushes from either side. And frankly, you're not going to see a significant push other than to clear out regions that Legacy has essentially abandoned from the Imperium, because we're defending. The big fight, the 1DQ fight, the one we're all waiting for, not here.
Soon.
TM.
Well, I mean, I take Legacy at their word. They gave a town hall and they said that, they're going to burn down stuff in Delve and they're going to hit 1DQ1. And so we are preparing for that accordingly. But there has been, in terms of updates, shit in Delve is burning down, shit in Legacy space is burning down, and we are going to, it's almost like a competitive structure grind at this point. So let's go into that. Let's just dive into the details and show what is blowing up where.
All right, so we'll give you a little rundown. So right now, essentially, the last week or so saw the complete obliteration of almost every structure that's left in Impasse. And let me put things in perspective. So Impasse was one of the main crab areas for Legacy prior to the war. When the war started, they had 37 Fortizars, 9 Tataras, 9 Asbels, 9 Sodios, 4 Astrahus, 22 Raytarus, a bunch of other random Athenors, like 75 other random Athenors, and 4 Keepstars. What do they have left this most boring week? Impasse has 4 Keepstars and 2 Athenors left. They have lost hundreds of structures. And vast majority of these structures were killed. They were completely not at all fought over. They were not contested. They were uncontested.
They were cored too. I mean, that's one of the things we're going to be seeing later
They
on
were,
this.
and that's an important thing we're going to talk about too.
And also, to be fair to our enemies, looking at the chart that was put up there, I think that there are another 2 Keepstars in Delve that are going to die today, most likely, or they might have already died. So, you know, they are blowing up Keepstars in Delve outside of the 1DQ1 area. That has continued. And we are starting to see Keepstar reinforcements on the legacy side, but we have yet to see one of those actually go boom. But in many of these regions, there is only that left. So again, I don't want people who are part of our enemies to look at the chart and go, "Hey, there's another 2 on top of that." Why aren't you
talking about that? Exactly.
But yeah, so let's sort of go through the charts.
So back on here. I mean, so again, so this week so far, the primary fight has been, at least on the Delve front for the legacy Pappy side, has been taking down our Keepstars. We've lost 3 Keepstars this week, and then 1 on last Saturday. So it was 2 Goons, 2 TNT Keepstars have died during the last week or so. On the legacy side, in Impasse, they've lost 4 Sotoyos, 2 Fortizars. Actually, it's across all of legacy space, which includes Esoteria, Impasse, MNC, and Faithabilis, and Esoteria, obviously. 4 Sotoyos, 2 Fortizars, 4 Raytarus, a Tatara, 3 Astrahuses, 30 Athenors have died. There have been limited border skirmishing. There have been, groups that have come across. They try to shoot some of the jammers in 1DQ yesterday. They come in every once in a while with a fleet or so, a couple of fleets of hacks, and it devolves into a back and forth. But in the end, the result is nothing. It's just a fat lot of nothing. It's been one of, unfortunately, like one of the longest periods between major fights during the whole war. And I think we're kind of on this roller coaster style of tempo where you have a big fight and then 3 months of nothing, and then big fights and then 3 months of nothing. And now we're at the point where there should be another big fight coming, because we're at that 3-month period.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what that's going to be or when they're going to do it. And at least as far as I can tell, public statements that have been made by SNEC Coalition leadership is that they're going to clear out everything in Delve before they make the 1DQ push. But they still got, but if that's the case, we've got another month worth of Keepstars. I mean, they got a lot of Keepstars left to kill.
Well, they could speed up the case. I don't want to put my fingers on the scales one or the other, because again, it's sort of a competitive structure grind. We're burning down their shit. They're burning down our shit. We have a hard point in 1DQ1 that we've just told everybody on the far side to gear up and get ready to defend and start. We've been laying in preparations for that. Those are accelerating. But again, like, this is all going to come down to that. Like, there's going to be a pivotal battle where the thing is going to be decided for real, right? Either they purge 1DQ1 or they don't. And the other big point here is going to be what happens to these legacy home regions, right? One of the things I think is really interesting is I'm looking ahead and I see that Brisk has an extremely detailed chart here, which is so detailed that it is already making my simple little mitten brain kind of confused by it. Are we going to be able to bring that up and show them what's there?
I'm going to pull it up, and let me go through this. This is to the point that Mittens was making earlier that I wanted to talk about. One of the major differences between the structure bashes that we've seen in Delve and the structure bashes that we've seen in the backfields of legacy space was all of their stuff was core. Almost every single major structure, all of the stuff that they did, they cored it. We didn't do that, knowing and having written off most of Delve early. And I know that there was always this talk or this belief, I think, on the Pappy side, we've talked about this before, that we were going to bankrupt ourselves coring all of our stuff. Because we were going to defend everything, and the bad guys didn't recognize that we're not that dumb, and we're sitting on a lot of liquidus now thanks to our war bonds. We're not going to go and dump that into structures that we're just going to hand over to the enemy anyway. So for the vast majority of the structures in Delve that are being killed right now, they're not cored because they were never intended to be defensible. A handful of the Keepstars were cored because they were useful while we were moving stuff around and providing ways to get guys to get their stuff to 1DQ to protect it. But for the most part, they haven't been cored. The other sides all were, because as you saw last week when we did this, up to 3 months ago, they were still telling everybody that they were going to keep all their space. So let me show you this.
14 regions and everything's going to be just fine. And it is really interesting to me because I didn't want to believe this. I thought it was too good to be true, right? It would be too ironic, too funny if Legacy had spent all of this time herping blurfs about how when cores came, we were going to be giving them cores that they would then use to colonize Delve. And it turned out that because they didn't really take care of their allies and just kept lying to them that everything was going to be fine and you didn't need to worry about anything, Legacy ended up coring almost all of their shit, and then Initiative and Bastion, all of the Imperium offensive forces have just been gobbling these cores up, which it's a fun little irony. I like it.
So let me show you guys this. So this is the other thing I think it's part of what was funny is that we've been funding a lot of the war effort, at least the non-goons Imperium style alliances, by taking stuff from the bad guys because they left a whole bunch of stuff behind. So let me show you this sheet here, and this is interesting. Since September, when the Quantum Core update has gone through, we have killed...
This chart frightens me.
3.2 trillion ISK worth of bad guys' structures that dropped 624.9 billion ISK worth of cores that we were able to capture. I mean, almost over 500 billion ISK worth of cores alone were taken out of all of these structures throughout Legacy space that we have been hitting for the last. I mean, it's just absurd. You can see on here, Test had 40 some Citadels cored. Brave had almost 100. You know, Requiem, Eternal Requiem, what the hell they are, 52 were done. Warped Intentions, 58. A lot of these guys, I mean, already replaced guys, ARP 63. They had 418 cores, structures that were cored. Every single one of those cores was taken by the Imperium and sold. So you guys funded weeks worth of Init and Bastion and Lawn and TNT and everybody else who's been up here doing these fights and goons to a certain extent. SRP through your cores because you guys cored a bunch of stuff that you didn't have to because you had the hubris to think that you were going to keep all of your space when we weren't going to attack.
It's sort of appropriate too, because the alliances that had their space glassed first in Fountain, in the Imperium, right? The guys who took those hits initially now get a chance to run around and have been just gobbling up cores of Legacy stuff and burning it all down. So there's sort of a nice narrative loop to this. But it is really interesting in general because it takes a bit, but these regions are falling very quickly. Like Impasse has essentially been torched. Now, mind you, there are still keep stars there. We have not reached the point where Legacy keep stars are blowing up. Keep stars are blowing up in Delve. Keep stars are getting reinforced in Legacy space. We will have to see whether we are able to actually purge those as well. But it has been really kind of curious because these little groups are essentially just getting shoved into a trash bin, and there's really nothing that they can do about it other than getting told to colonize Delve. So yeah, we end up sort of like in the situation where it's like, hey, here's some charts we can show, here's some graphs, things blowing up here, things blowing up there, but it is essentially just a race of glassing and who runs out of shit first before they have to make an attack on a hard point. So things continue.
Right, so obviously things are going to continue, and that's kind of the thing. When it comes down to it, the fact is, the structure bashing part of this war, it was inevitable. It was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. You can't have two groups sitting side by side that have had years to build up their space and not expect that it's going to devolve into this kind of random structure bashing. And on the Delve side, you've got these guys out with their supers and their titans, and they're dropping on every keep star, and they're running their slow ass slogging, grind them down campaign that is boring the shit out of their own people as much as it bores us. And I don't care what anybody says. I have refed so many keep stars. I have refed so many structures. Merc and Anominate and I have been going out on Merc stream. If you haven't, by the way, if you haven't followed Rampage Incorporated, go do that after the show. It's great. We have a good time. We do mostly nights when Mine 1 is not streaming, and we go out and we just do structure bashes or gate camps or things like that. It's fun to join us. But the point is, we're out there every night. Guys, we have a fleet of like 6 people. It's like me and Merc and Nam and maybe Cass from my STK Corp, or maybe Bad West, or Kappa, or some of the guys coming and tagging along with us. And we've killed dozens of structures, including ones that were gunned. We had guns last night, and we've gone out and killed a bunch of this stuff. And we've had Delta Squad with us. We've had a bunch of the goon guys come down and help out too. You know, whether Jaden for a minute and some other groups, we've had all these guys out. We've just been killing structure after structure after structure. Yes, it's nice to get a kill mill. Yes, it's nice to hang with your bros and do stuff in space, but it's not the most exciting gameplay. And it's definitely not been the most exciting part of this war. For me, the most exciting part of this war was twofold. I think one, obviously the M2 fights were great, but I also loved all the Keepstar destruction and NPC Delve when we were flinging, shit at the wall and killing as much stuff as we could with random subcaps. I had a lot of fun doing that too. Those were fun fights. And the best part of those fights is, other than the M2 massacre where Villy fucked up, everybody else can say that both sides they were able to walk away claiming a victory. And I think in EVE, that's the best kind of fight you want. A thing where both sides can walk away with a plausible way of saying that they won. That's fun. We haven't had any of those in a while because it's kind of boring, and we're just really sitting here waiting for the big push on 1DQ. Boss, do you think they're really going to wait? They're really going to clear out everything before they come into 1DQ?
I am preparing as if they're not. I mean, okay. And I don't really want to go in too much into like the grand strategy side of things on the meta show, but firesides are relatively public. I think that, I don't want to good cop, bad cop this, and I don't want to like contradict Brisk too much, but I think things are really getting interesting now because we have had an opportunity for people to sort of like take a rest after the whole M2 process. That took 2 months after, December 30th, January 3rd, 2 months of hell camp. We have changed time zones around. We're starting to see a lot of activity in the U.S. time zone on the Imperium. The pace at which Imperium forces are burning down Legacy is something that I want to encourage. Like the more faster, more better, more purgy, more good, right? That's what we want to see. Meanwhile, our stuff is getting hit in Delve, but it is getting to the point of fuck or walk. Now, I could definitely say that the last couple months have not exactly been the most interesting period in the history of EVE Online. However, the fact from a grand strategy perspective, the fact that Legacy shit was mostly cored, and that is a wealth transfer at a time where CCP is raising the stakes on everything. Essentially, our enemies are being forced to prepare to attack. I hope that they're going to attack 1DQ1. We are laying in all of our plans, all of our efforts around that, and we want them to storm the gates of 1DQ1 in that constellation at a time which CCP is making everything far more expensive on the way, such that we can bleed them, such that in a post 1DQ1 situation, either because we have won or because we have gotten purged, that it is as costly as possible. I think we're going to win, and one of the reasons I'm excited about it, and I think we're getting to the get ready for attacking 1DQ1 phase of the war. That's how we are handling it. And if they don't attack 1DQ1 on a timely fashion, great, right? But that's on them. Like, we are preparing as if that is going to be the battle to end all battles, and that is what we are expecting as the next major narrative point in this war. So I think it's actually quite interesting because never have I seen in the history of EVE Online a strategy from our enemies depend entirely upon us giving up, right? Essentially, Legacy has no real plan here. PanFam is going to be fine, I guess, because they can watch Legacy throw themselves into a wood chipper. But the core transfers tells me that it really sort of speaks to a leadership issue, I think, on the Legacy side. Because here's the thing. If you knew that you were not going to be able to defend these regions, and you told people in public that they could have 14 regions and they wouldn't have to give anything up and, colonize Delve and it's going to be great. Maybe they could lie in public about that, but they could have back-channeled with like Brave leadership. They could have back-channeled with other Legacy leadership and said, hey guys, right? Like, we don't want to say this on a town hall, but word to the wise, don't core all your shit. And it's this fascinating scenario where they just, I don't know whether they were lying about it or if they genuinely believe that. Let's give them summary judgment. I'm going to assume here that Villy and Piggles genuinely believed that I would say, okay, guys, we can't fight this. We're going to Saarinen or whatever. And that their strategy has depended upon us doing that at some point. And so the coring of these other citadels, the fact that they're have essentially just abandoned the legacy home regions. Now, again, if we give up, if we do go to Saarinen or whatever, then you can colonize Delve and it's all well and good. But I have burned everybody's ships. I have made it such that there is no, we must fight, we will fight because there's no other alternative. Like, we have no golden bridge of retreat. It is only fight or die, fuck or walk. So they have to bring it to us. So I think things are getting very interesting from a strategic perspective, certainly from a daily basis, looking at charts and, hey, like this citadel blew up here. Hey, they lost a Sitio, we lost a Sitio. Maybe that's not exciting, but I think that things are getting to a point here soon where we're going to see some really, really hot spaceship action in a time where, most importantly, the cost of everything is going to increase. So in my world, and I could be wrong, in my world, that increases the defender's advantage, which is why I'm so eager to turn this thing into a fucking like proper goddamn insane fortress and get ready for the ultimate tie-dye fuckfest, which will be the defense of 1DQ1. So I am excited about that. I don't think, yeah, sure, reporting on they're blowing up our citadels, we're blowing up their citadels, maybe that's not super exciting, but where it's going strategically up to 1DQ1 and then beyond that, especially as the pace of these legacy regions falling increases, right? I think another major point is going to be when they start losing keep stars over there. Do they pull their forces back to start defending these keep stars that are getting reinforced by our forces? As we run out of shit to burn and steal their cores, then there's nothing left over there besides keep stars. There's still a bunch of shit in Delve for the enemies to just be chewing through. So at some point, there's going to be a time where there's nothing left to burn on the legacy side. There is nothing left to burn in Delve that is outside of the core 1DQ1 constellation. You know, we're going to be making attempts to fight and see if we can get them into another M2. Like if we catch them on a keep star where they fuck up something with a jammer and we can take an opportunity to skull fuck them like we did with M2, we will absolutely be doing that. But I expect that Pappy is going to be the same cowardly blobbers that they have been this entire time, to try to drag it out and to try to take no risks. And that's reasonable, because when they did take risks and they were sloppy and they were something besides cowards, we punished them and we destroyed more than 300 of their Titans for their trouble. So that's kind of the direction I'm seeing things going in. But yeah, as far as like meta show stuff goes, we have charts. Structures are blowing up.
We have pie charts. We know you guys love pie charts. Look,
yes.
Here is the thing. I say this slightly in jest, because to be bluntly honest, this war, we say it's the most boring war ever, and I say it's the most boring war ever because we're in kind of the doldrums right now, and that happens in between these big fights. Like I said, it's a roller coaster. It goes up and down. But we've had 9 months of solid content. I got to say thank you to both sides in this, because at least it's been something to do, something to report about, something we can sit around and talk about, you know. And I know that other shows quite enjoy having 65-hour in-depth discussions of the lore of the Triglavs and Pochvin, you know, but that's not our show. And we're here to try to talk about nullsec stuff. And if we don't have a lot of nullsec stuff going on outside of the war, it gets kind of boring. And so every once in a while, well, there'll be something that impacts us, that, you know, the low-sec fights, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But in the end, I want to talk about what's happening in the war, and there's nothing happening. So if you guys could do us a favor, like the news guys a favor, if you could like invade 1DQ this week, please, could you hurry up? Because I need something for the show next week. I'm just saying, maybe Billy, be a pal. Now, I will say, programming wise, I think we are going to try. I think we're trying to get our quarterly CCP
we have a bunch
interview.
of like econ stuff here coming up.
We have some econ stuff. I mean, I can go into the MER stuff if you guys want to. I don't know if you guys are you guys want to hear, you want to talk about the MER? It came out last week. I don't know if you guys give a shit. Let's see what the chat says.
I think that we should at least discuss the economy stuff. We don't have to go into like turbo detail, because as you guys know, when we discuss too much things economically speaking, I get to be a sleepy mitten and I get to watch my eyes glaze over. So, but we do have a lot of people that are interested in that. And that is one of the other things about the war is that, again, for me, I think grand strategy wise, it is exciting, because as the cost of everything increases, the defender's advantage increases, especially because we're ahead in the galactic arms race of Titans, because we blew up so many of the other guys.
All right.
So yeah, let's dive into this.
There are enough people saying they don't want it that makes me want to do it just to piss them off. So here's where we're gonna do that. So
all right.
The monthly economic report for February came out. I want to say about a week and a half ago. It included. Now listen, before River gives me a hard time or Caleb starts freaking out, let me just say, there are still issues with this data. We know that there are still issues with this data. There are still missing days. There's things that look like it's been double counted. We did get them to at least break down a couple of new graphs for us to look at, but take this with a grain of salt. It's the data we're given, but we know that it has issues. So I'm just going to say that with a caveat, but here we go. This was the February MER, and there's nothing in here that I think is off the charts surprising. I'll walk you through it briefly. So total destroyed value by region. Obviously, Delve is where the action is. Close to 5 trillion lost in Delve. And then the rest of it is the typical, fighting that happens constantly in HiSec, mostly ganking and some wars and those types of things, and people losing stuff, ratting. Next up, we've got total mining value by region. This is again, we are back to the bad old days where HiSec mining has become the best thing in the game, and I had a long discussion with a couple of players who didn't believe me when I tried to explain to them that HiSec mining was where you made ISK and EVE right now, because they were 100% positive nullsec still has to. No, it's not. Look, if you look on here, even the best of the nullsec stuff doesn't come anywhere close to the amount of mining value that you're getting in Metropolis and the Forge and Sync Liaison and Lone Trek and those. So that all of these HiSec places, that's where you're going to go. If you want to mine, you're going to HiSec. In terms of bounties, right now, Veil of the Silent is the new OASA, and that's obvious because that's where Fraternity moved all of their stuff to. So
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
They moved all their stuff to Veil. That's now where you're making all your money. And if you guys are waiting for ESS stuff, that's where you want to go, is up to Veil of the Silent. Clava Lava Expanse is number 2. That's Horde Space. So they're out there making some pretty good money as well. The rest is less than, is obviously doing less. So you got production value, no shock. The Forge is number 1. But as we have been telling you guys for the entire time, Delve is number 2. And I'll tell you right now, that's not legacy building shit in Delve, because they don't have the infrastructure in place to do any of that, or at least to do a lot of that.
Well, that is true.
Most of that production is happening in the 1DQ constellation, at least in February it was. So you can see, regardless of whatever it claims that we are being sieged, that Legacy wants to put out there, we're still building a lot of stuff. So if you look at the imports and exports, obviously Paragon Sol saw a lot of stuff moving out of there. So it's clear that the test guys are moving their stuff through PS to get to Delve, and through period basis as well. All of the places where you see high exports and imports, it's basically Legacy guys moving their shit around. That's what, at least that's my take on this, and I haven't seen anything different. So you see Esoteria, Paragon Sol, period basis, the top import-export regions. There you go. That's all move-offs. Sinks and faucets. We have a bit of a breakout now. We finally got a little bit better data from CCP on the commodity market. They broke out commodities, they broke out bounty prizes, incursions, ESS payouts, insurance.
Okay, this is too much for me.
Well, I know. I'm going to push through it. Let me get out of here.
All right, we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Keep going. So anyway, one thing I will note, and this is important, is this month started with 1,336 trillion ISK in the game. It ended with 1,332 trillion ISK. That's a net loss, a net reduction in the amount of ISK in the game. You don't see that very often. So I wanted to highlight that. That was kind of a big deal.
Do you know why is that? Like, I mean, that is different. Like,
I
net reduction of ISK in the game, is that because the sinks are
increasing?
It's
a couple. I think it's sinks. I think it's people that are wealthy that are not logging in, and I think that we're not generating the kind of ISK that we're normally generating, and then the natural sinks are catching up finally. So if this were a ship, the bilge pumps are actually catching up, and we're not sinking. They stopped and they made some stuff. So there you go. You got to go to the side.
I'm trying to maneuver around the chart because the guys in chat were suggesting it, but I'm not good at that. I overshot it in one direction and then the other.
I can do it because I can autocorrect while I'm standing here. So the other thing is you've got, this is a new map, and I think it's pretty, this one is interesting. You guys might give a shit about this. These are top 6 commodity faucets. They wanted to put this in here. So that includes Overseer personal effects, it includes Trig stuff, and it includes sleeper components, blue loot from wormholes. Look at that fucking line. The wormhole guys.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Which one is the wormhole line?
That's the blue line is the wormhole line. These guys are making bank in the wormholes.
Wow, and that's really like gone up in since the start of the war.
Absolutely.
I mean, just really since would you say it really took off? I'd say July thereabouts of 2020. It just got on the up and up and up.
Pretty much, and I think if you start looking at that trend line, it's exactly right. It's like this. So the blue loot. This is the first time we've seen the amount of ISK that the blue loot is generating, at least on a graph like this. So thank you to Larrikin for putting this together. Go ahead.
I was going to say we do have a question in chat, and I don't know when we're going to get into this, but after you finish your thought, what is that spike on the pink stuff there? Like, what the hell is that?
So that was Overseer personal effects. I guess December, January, everybody started officer ratting or something and got a bunch of stuff. I have no idea how the hell that happened, or if that's an aberration or some kind of goof. Oh, was it events? All right, it was an event. That's right. It was a Christmas event.
Winter.
That's exactly right. It was
Gotcha.
the winter event that had Overseer effects in the loot. So that was that thing. But if you look at it, there was a spike, a couple, like I guess the beginning of or the end of last year on Trig stuff, and then that kind of went back down. But right now, I mean, honestly, the blue loot for wormholes is kind of crazy, and that's pretty legit. And I got to say, given how few players are actually in wormholes, that's a lot of ISK per capita that's being generated by these guys. CCP knows that now, so sorry. All right, next up, sinks and faucets over time. You can see commodity payouts are crapping. Are low. The ESS changes have dropped the bounties down pretty solid. A trillion ISK a month it looks like what bounties are being generated right now, at least according to this thing. And again, this is one of those things where we're not 100% sure if it works. And if you look again, another month, mining production index off the charts, and there it is again in more detail. I think frankly, one of the things I'd like to see Larrikin do, and I know you guys don't give a shit, but I will. I'll throw this out because get that off the screen so you guys can see us again. I think it would be a good idea for Larrikin and the gang to go in, and I had a long conversation with Riv and a long conversation with Caleb about this. I think the consumer price index and the buckets that the commodities that they're tracking need to be adjusted. And I think the secondary price index needs to be adjusted as well, because I don't think it's really a key. A real way of looking at inflation in a way that makes sense. So I think it's probably time for the Economic Council or whoever is the ones that come up with these ideas to look into that. But again, that's a more detailed chat for a different show, because I don't want to bore the shit out of you guys. And I think Frank does want to get here soon. So.
Half and half here. One of the things I have noticed is, like, just because I myself, my simple little mitten brain frags out when we start talking about heavy industry and charts and graphs and things like that, one of the things about the Meta Show audience is that a good half of the people don't give a shit at all about the MER stuff, and the other half is very interested in exactly what this is going to do. So we are going to so guys, just because I am a sleepy little mitten and my simple little brain shorts out, I don't mean that as a disrespect, because we absolutely need the ships and we need to pay attention to the economy because it relates directly to the war. So anyway, but I think that we need a more exciting war update. I think that I feel like Brisk has been grinding so many legacy structures and going out
My brain's kind of fried,
Merc
to be
and
honest.
Nam, who have
We've been drinking a lot.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, were you hungover? Because I know that that this guy's got a lot of fucking big waves last night.
One of the joys of big waves is it's pretty easy on the liver, I got to say. And I don't tend to get a crazy, but my wife bought a bunch of hydration hangover cure medicine. She's like, you need this in case you guys keep going out on these fleets. One thing I do want to say, the reason why I keep saying I'm having long conversations with people is because they're long conversations. If I was having short conversations, I would say that. I know it's obvious, but, you know, for those of you in real Linda, got to explain it. Do we want to do the war update?
I think we need a professional. I think you're hungover and I am whatever the hell I am. I just don't feel as qualified to talk about that. I'm biased, right? We need somebody who's
totally
objective, who is objective compared to me. We need someone who's more objective than you. You're very objective, but we need true objectivity. Only the truthiest of truths that we could possibly have to liven things up and show people what's really going on in this war.
I think it's time. Let's go get Frank.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Fountain Frank. I am back. It has been a while. I think I was on a little bit last week, but it's been a while since I got a chance to do the show. But I'll tell you, part of the reason for that is George and I have been doing some serious legal research because I don't know if you know this. I know, Brisk and Mittens love to talk about how they're fucking lawyers and they're lawyers and all this stuff, and they're cool because they went to law school and they got law degrees. And Brisk has a law license and he can do all this stuff. Guess what, motherfuckers? I'm a lawyer too.
Oh shit.
And George is a certified paralegal. We have side gigs just like these guys. You want proof? I'll show you proof. There's my fucking diploma. I am a graduate of the prestigious Rubal School of College, Law School of Texas Bird Space Law. You can see, to all persons be it known that F. Fountain Franklin Thorpe Esquire, that is my full name, by the way, has a JD. And if you think you're not sure, let me show you. Here's proof. Guess what? There's George's completion certificate. April 20th, obviously, is when he graduated from the very prestigious Rubal School of College. That's it. So, now, I'm a lawyer, and George is my paralegal. And I was asking him, I said, George, we were talking about this last week. I need you to go back through and look through the Texas Bird Law Space Archives and find out if there's anything related to the war that we have missed, that we have not talked about, and son of a bitch, did he find something. It's unbelievable how good a paralegal this monkey is, okay? So he found, and I will go through it with you because this is it's a little esoteric, but I'll make it easy to understand, okay? Back on CSM-2, Vuk Lau, who was the chairman of the CSM, got put into the New Eden General Laws, a special codified provision for Delve. And I'm going to show it to you what this does, because this shit is crazy, okay? Texas bird law is not a joke, all right? Here it is. New Eden Codified General Laws. The whole point of the CSM is to make sure that this shit's up to date, so that's why they do it. Real personal property, title real property, general provisions, Special Delve Property Protection and Liability Act of YC 110. Okay? Now let me read this. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, the owner and controller of systems within the region of Delve, currently under the control of Band of Brothers, this was like, a while back, it's been a while, shall in perpetuity, that means forever, defend by counsel or via combat, indemnify, hold harmless, and accept full and unqualified responsibility for all deployable structures and objects whether permanent or transitory, including but not limited to player-owned star bases, customs offices, and or any other anchorable space objects that may be created by the Empires or the Upwell Corporation. How did they know that this was going to happen? These guys were like, I mean, was this an NDA leak or something?
Foresight, very
right?
Long-range planning.
Any time could be created in the future, especially, and this is a legal term, guys, super big honking space station citadel thingies that can hold an infinite number of Titans and or super caps and may also have cool logos on them. Okay, so what does this say? It says that whoever controls regions, space and delve has to control all the stuff and is responsible for all the stuff. For the purposes of this section, all structures of the aforementioned type shall be considered wards of the sovereignty holder, who shall stand in loco parentis for said structures, and if structures are destroyed or otherwise improperly touched, fondled, molested, looked at askance, or otherwise made to be placed in imminent fear of an unwanted touching, said sovereignty holder shall be liable to pay a fine equal to triple the value of said
damages.
structure to the Council of Stellar Management, provided that no member of the Council of Stellar Management who is an active leader or member of any sovereignty holder found liable under this act shall be entitled to receive any portion of the aforementioned fine, nor shall counselors whose names do not begin with the letters B, I, or M, nor shall counselors who reside in Empire space or that utter shithole, another legal term, that is low-sec, share in the proceeds of said fines. Guys, this is fucking huge. You know what this is? You know what this means? All the stuff they're blowing up in Delve, they gotta pay Brisk money. And Nom and Merc and the rest of the CSM that have names that start with B, I, and M, and there's only other one person, but he's accepted because he's an ISEC, Mike Azariah. And Maria Taylor, but he's part of the other group, so maybe Maria gets a piece of it too. Here is the thing, okay? The amount of stuff they've killed in Delve is crazy. Let me show you. Here we go. Boom. Look at this. They killed all these keep stars in Delve. They were responsible for these keep stars, and they blew them up. The space law, Texas space bird law, does not lie. They have killed 2.8 trillion ISK worth of keep stars alone, and they got to pay 3 times that to the CSM for doing it. These guys fucked up. This is the absolute biggest liability case in the history of Texas bird law, and George found it. George found it. Can you believe this, people? It is unfucking believable to me that these guys, they didn't know the law. They blew up our stuff in their space that they were supposed to protect. You're the landlord, guys. All these systems have test iHubs and NC.iHubs and PL iHubs and TCUs and stuff. How dare you? How dare you let that stuff die? You had a responsibility. You had a fiduciary responsibility. And I don't even know what that word means, but I'm going to say it again. You had a fiduciary responsibility to not let that stuff die, and you did it. You owe Brisk and Nom and Merc a lot of money. I'm just saying. And they're probably going to come get it. And it's probably going to all get spent on Big Wave. I'm not lying. So that's it. That's all I got for this week. I think that's pretty huge. And I think George, obviously, he stands, because he was the lawyer that found it, and not me too. I guess I get like a third, I think. Isn't that what the lawyers work at?
I believe
like
all of
third,
this,
right?
because the paralegals do all the real work anyway. So,
right, so he should get
it makes
something.
perfect sense.
Right? Exactly. You can get a banana or something out of this. Anyway, it's cool. So, all right, that's it. I'm out. Fountain Frank out. We'll be back to, hopefully next week we'll find some fun stuff to talk about. And maybe there will be even another big war update. But I'll tell you right now, I don't know how much bigger we can get than like 6 trillion worth of stuff that the CSM
Treble damages, baby. Hell yeah.
Exactly right. You don't want to fuck with treble damages. All right, I'm out. These buttons are really small.
They are small buttons. I just sort of like look around awkwardly when he's changing sometimes. I think he was supposed to press a button, but as far as I can tell, I'm still on the screen. So I'm not sure whether there's like a transition period or if I should just sort of, stare into the camera. I think he did the show equivalent of jumping instead of bridging. So yeah, actually, we've got about 10 minutes left. Let's go ahead and
I'm back. We're here. We're good.
Oh, I see. I see. Here we go. Excellent. I could awkwardly sing. I think
that was a great Frank X. I got to give him credit for all that legal work. I didn't know he had it in him. I had no idea that he was a lawyer either. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, he's obviously relying on his paralegal to do all the work. That's how it actually works. So, But
that's real life. So there you go.
Exactly. Okay. Also, another thing is I hear it from someone in chat who is presumably on the Pappy side that I am faking my way laughing at everything that Fountain Frank says. Yes, there's a very... Yeah,
so am I, by the way. I think he's the most horrendously unfunny son of a bitch on the planet. But I have to fake it too. So.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
So yeah, let's see. I think that's basically it. Like in terms of news, we could talk about CCP stuff because there's scarcity, but we talked about that a lot last time. So I'm not really sure.
We've got I'd say 5 or 6 minutes left in the show.
We can take questions from chat.
That's what I was going to suggest. Why don't we talk? We haven't had a chance. We haven't really had a chance since that one show we did a couple months ago to get questions from chat. So if you guys want questions, ask us.
We're going to go subscribers.
You have not said your catchphrase the show yet.
Well, it's kind of hard to scream "eat my ass" at puppies when it's. I mean, I haven't been provoked enough. Like nobody's actually really done anything that deserves it yet. But I'm sure we'll get there. So yeah, let me take a look at what we got here. We also, while we were doing this, Mr. V ran off and blew up a bunch of dreadnoughts from that.
I forgot there was another thing we can do. I'll do it briefly. So one of I have to say, the war is boring, but I will say this. The one meme that I like that's come out on the Pappy side recently was the beacon provides thing. Like they've been laughing at how stupid Imperium members are.
And it has a beacon too.
Right, that we keep jumping to this beacon.
There was a double jump freighter kill.
That's what I'm going to talk about. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
But guess what? We're not the only ones that don't realize that you should maybe jump to the guy on your watch list rather than jumping, to random bait beacons anywhere. And this morning, these guys caught 2 jump freighters on a beacon in UTEC Q, which is the current staging. And I'll throw it up on the screen here if I can find my utility. There it is. Boom, we got 1 arc right here that gets blown up. 10 bill right there. Dark Shines, top damage. Gotta love it. And then, boom, number 2, same guy jumped at the exact same time. It's the same guy, obviously. It's one dude. This guy was so pissed off, so angry, that he's like, fuck this game, I'm done in local. He claims that he clicked to the GE Tech beacon, not the one that was there, and he had to sign it with GE Tech. It's what I was jumping to. But anyway, the beacon provides for us as much as it provides for you guys. So congrats to my Init boys for the 2 random jump freighter kills this morning, because that shit's just funny. And I gotta say, I love the beacon provides memes. I think they're hilarious, and we gotta keep doing that. So
I'm going to blast through some of these questions real quick. So we do have a few questions. I'm going to start up here. So rapid fire mode here. Question from Sir Hundlix, which was, what about the statement last week? He's referring to what Ken Feld said last week on the show about how the Imperium has never fought an adversary with industrial capacity or a big wallet. Was that the stupidest thing ever offered on the show? So my official comment on that is, I guess, I don't know. I thought I had a bigger burp in there. It was one of those things where, yeah, there was this casino war thing. There was also the Great War. There was most of our history. But that was a very interesting comment to me, because it was like, okay, if they think that we've never fought anybody that has their own production capacity or their own ISK, I just didn't really know what to do with it, but apparently it was a really big own. So whatever, congratulations. If they want to believe that, that's great. Next question. Do we expect CCP to do anything with regards to the server with regards to the 1DQ1 fight? We expect them to put their best everything on it. And if they don't and it goes sideways, that's a bad look for CCP. So obviously we are hoping for, but they are limited by the capacity of reality, right? There are only so many bits and boops and whiz-gigs that you can send flying through the tubes of the interwebs and have it work in a given system. So we will hope that the server weather works, and we do expect them to put it on a turbo node or whatever it is. Another question is, can we get a lull at Ichi, who is feeding fleets to us after his defection? So for people who don't know about this, if you're in the Imperium, you're aware. This guy, I'm pretty sure, was a test spy or a horde spy, and I think he flipped over to test or to horde. I forget what it was, but he was a very bad fleet commander in Australian time zone, and when he flipped sides, it was like, okay, great. And now he's feeding Mr. V in European Union, so high fives all around. Everybody wins. That was sort of a relief because I wasn't really sure how we were going to be removing this guy that we thought was a spy as a fleet commander in that time zone because he was very loud and active, but he was loud and active in crashing fleets into trees, and it now seems that he has gone and revealed his true colors, that he is crashing fleets into trees for our enemies and crashing
so
those
is he really a spy then?
trees.
Is he really a spy
it's
then?
Complicated. It's complicated. It's like, okay. A couple of these other things.
Well, let me get. There's a couple things I wanted to jump in here with too. First of all, one, am I still high on the red dot? Absolutely, but I got more in the tank for you guys. So keep watching. We got more stuff coming for you. Two, I want to let all my friends in Brave and Assorted Legacy Coalition members that are now living in Quirius, I want to let you guys know, Quirius is completely safe. There is nothing that's going to happen to you if you decide you want to super rat or take your Rorquals out or mine in really expensive ships. So please, by all means, do that. Nothing bad could happen. Trust me, I'm Brisker Ball. I am the most trustworthy name in EVE. Go ahead, please. It's a great idea. Don't hesitate. Take those supers and undock them. Trust me, you'll be all right.
So other questions here, Malice City, what happened to the judge? I don't know. That's the first I'm hearing of it. Apparently he biomassed his character recently. Can't speak
Did he
to that.
really? I didn't know.
I don't know. Somebody's saying in chat that happened, so we can
That's
look that
crazy.
up. Let's see. Why is Delta Squad the best squad? Well, in addition to Delta being some of the most effective wielders of the Holy Tornado in the Imperium, we also, I can't tell you. I can't tell you why Delta Squad is the best squad because I will never reveal the Delta Squad secret. All right. I think that's basically it. Do we have the other Seriously video? We have not played the other Seriously video, the one that was released. I want to do that on the outro at some point. We can't do that in like 2 minutes to the end of the show. It is, so Brisk is hungover. We've got structure stuff. We tried to get a couple guests for you guys today, but they all had other engagements. We invited Sister Bliss on the show. We're trying to get the newly minted CCP Swift / Elise Randolph on the show. Brisk is hungover. I haven't done my hair. People, I don't know why I keep getting questions about my chest hair. Like, what shaver do you use on your chest hair? I've never shaved my chest hair. That might be why it looks the way that it does. I don't know. It's interesting doing a Twitch stream because people will say things and ask you things, and you're just kind of like, am I supposed to shave my chest hair? Like, is that? I'm confused. I
like it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all I got. I think that's it. Next week, hopefully, we can get some guests on. There's also some things that are happening in LowSec that we might be touching on next week because there has been more as the war in NullSec has been in the structure grinding phase. Or I guess if you look at FRT's territory, the war has not really been a thing, and it's just all PvE crab. Then. There is some conflicts that are happening in LowSec. I don't know how interested you guys will be in those, but we will probably touch on those next week. And yeah, that's all I got. What else do we have? Is that it? Can we play us off?
That's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead. I think I can play this song. We'll see if I can make it work. If I can't, then we'll figure it out. But we're going to go ahead and sign off for this week. Thank you all for watching. This has been the Meta Show for April the 3rd, 2021, Easter weekend. I'm Brisker Ball. I'm joined by the Matani. Hope you had a good time. Thanks for Frank stopping by. I'm excited to see what he brings up next, and let's see if we can get this video going. You stay classy, New Eden. Thanks for watching.
Ooh, New